The sky was unusually dark that night, dotted with stars that seemed to shimmer brighter than usual. In a quiet control room at NASA's headquarters in Houston, alarms began to blare. A large monitor displayed a strange object moving toward Earth. It wasn't like anything they had seen before, a massive ship shaped like an arrowhead, glowing faintly with blue energy. The radar operator, a young man named Eric, froze for a moment before alerting his supervisor. "Sir, we've got something incoming," Eric said, his voice trembling slightly. "It's not one of ours." Commander Ryan Carter, a tall man with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor, walked over to the screen. He studied the image carefully. The ship was descending slowly, almost as if it wanted to be noticed. There was no sign of hostility, yet Ryan knew this could mean only one thing. Humanity was about to make contact with extraterrestrial life. "We need to act fast," Ryan said, turning to Dr. Laura Bennett, who stood nearby. Laura was a brilliant scientist known for her work on deep space phenomena. Her curly hair framed her face as she leaned closer to the monitor, her expression serious. "What do you think?" Ryan asked her. "It's not natural," Laura replied. "Look at the trajectory. It's too precise. This isn't some random asteroid or comet. Someone is piloting it." Ryan nodded. "We'll send a team up there immediately. If this is first contact, we need to handle it carefully." Within hours, preparations were underway. Ryan would lead the mission alongside Laura, who insisted on joining to analyze any data they might collect. They boarded a small spacecraft designed for exploration and launched into orbit. As they approached the alien vessel, their hearts raced. The ship loomed ahead of them, larger than anything humans had ever built. Its surface shimmered with patterns that seemed to shift and change, almost alive. "Do you think they're friendly?" Laura whispered, breaking the silence. "We're about to find out," Ryan replied, gripping the controls tightly. They sent a signal, hoping to establish communication. At first, there was no response. Then suddenly, a hatch opened on the side of the alien ship. Ryan guided their craft inside, landing softly on what appeared to be a docking bay. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dimly lit corridor. Ryan and Laura stepped out cautiously, wearing protective suits just in case. As they moved deeper into the ship, they found signs of damage. Scorch marks on the walls and debris scattered across the floor. Something had gone terribly wrong here. Finally, they'd reached a chamber where they saw him. A figure lying unconscious on the ground. His skin was pale gray, and his elongated limbs suggested he wasn't human. Around his neck hung a badge marked with unfamiliar symbols. Laura knelt beside him, checking for vital signs. "He's alive, but barely," she said. Just then, the alien stirred. His golden eyes flickered open, and he looked at them with a mix of fear and desperation. Using a device on his wrist, he managed to communicate through broken, distorted words. "Earth, don't. War," he gasped weakly. Before they could ask more, he collapsed again. Ryan exchanged a worried glance with Laura. Whatever this alien was trying to say, it sounded urgent and dangerous. Back on Earth, the alien, later identified as Cal Varn, was rushed to a secure medical facility. Scientists and military personnel worked around the clock to stabilize him. Dr. Laura Bennett stayed by his side, determined to understand who he was and why he had come to Earth. Samantha Hayes, a skilled linguist with sharp instincts, joined the team to decode the strange symbols on Cal's badge and wrist device. The room buzzed with tension as everyone realized this was humanity's first real interaction with an extraterrestrial being. Cal remained unconscious for hours, but when he finally woke up, he looked weak and disoriented. His golden eyes darted around the room, taking in the unfamiliar faces and equipment. Laura approached him slowly, holding up her hands to show she meant no harm. "You're safe," she said softly. "We're trying to help you." Cal blinked, then reached for the device on his wrist. With shaky fingers, he activated it, and a series of distorted sounds filled the air. Samantha quickly recorded the audio, hoping to decipher its meaning. After a few moments, Kale managed to form a few broken words in English. Earth. Must stay out. War, he whispered, his voice hoarse. Laura frowned. What war? Who are you fighting? Kale hesitated, as if unsure how much to reveal. Finally, he spoke again. Vorath Legion. They destroy everything. Unstoppable. Before he could say more, his strength gave out, and he fell back onto the bed. Laura exchanged a worried glance with Samantha. Whoever, or whatever, the Vorath were, they sounded like a serious threat. But what did any of this have to do with Earth? News of Cal's arrival spread quickly through the government. Military leaders gathered in a conference room to discuss their next steps. General Matthew Cole, a stern man with a no-nonsense attitude, argued that Earth should seize the opportunity to learn from Cal's advanced technology. If we can figure out how his ship works, we could use it to defend ourselves, he said firmly. Commander Ryan Carter disagreed. We don't even know what we're dealing with yet, he countered. Getting involved in some galactic war could put all of humanity at risk. Dr. Bennett sided with Ryan. He came here asking us to stay out of it. Maybe we should listen. But General Cole wasn't convinced. Staying out of it might not be an option anymore. If these Vorath are as dangerous as he says, they'll find us eventually. We need to prepare. While the debate raged on, Samantha made progress decoding Cal's language. She discovered that his people belonged to something called the United Galactic Alliance, a coalition of planets working together to resist the Vorath. According to the fragmented messages, the Vorath were ruthless conquerors who destroyed civilizations and used their resources to build weapons. They left nothing behind but ash and ruins. Samantha shared her findings with Laura, who relayed them to Ryan. The three of them met privately to discuss what it all meant. This is bigger than us, Laura said quietly. If we get dragged into this war, Earth could become a target. Ryan nodded grimly. And if we try to fight back without knowing what we're doing, we're doomed. Despite their concerns, secret preparations began. Military engineers pored over data collected from Cal's ship, attempting to reverse engineer its technology. Weapons systems, propulsion methods, and energy sources were analyzed in hopes of giving Earth an edge. Meanwhile, Cal grew weaker, his injuries refusing to heal properly. He begged Laura and Ryan to stop tinkering with his ship's tech, warning them that drawing attention to Earth would only invite disaster. But his pleas fell on deaf ears. By the time he regained enough strength to speak clearly, it was too late. Earth had already taken its first step toward joining a conflict it barely understood. And Cal feared it might cost humanity everything. Tensions on Earth were rising. Cal's warnings about the Vorath Legion weighed heavily on Dr. Laura Bennett and Commander Ryan Carter, but their voices of caution were drowned out by louder, more aggressive opinions. General Matthew Cole had convinced key members of the government that aligning with the Galactic Alliance could give Earth access to advanced weapons and defenses. He argued that humanity couldn't afford to sit back and do nothing while a galactic war loomed over them. We're talking about technology far beyond anything we've ever seen, General Cole said during a heated meeting. If we play our cards right, we could protect ourselves, and maybe even gain an advantage. Ryan shook his head. You're assuming they'll share everything with us. What if they see us as expendable? We don't know what we're getting into. Laura chimed in, her voice firm but calm. Cal keeps saying the Vorath will target Earth if we get involved. Shouldn't we at least listen to him? Listening won't save us, General Cole shot back. Hiding hasn't worked for anyone else. Look at what happened to Cal's people. They're losing. If we want to survive, we need to fight. The debate continued late into the night, but it was clear that General Cole's argument had won over most of the room. Orders were issued to speed up research on Cal's ship, and plans were made to begin building new weapons based on alien designs. Ryan and Laura left the meeting feeling defeated. They both knew this decision could lead to disaster, but there was little they could do to stop it. Back at the medical facility, Kale watched silently as scientists and engineers swarmed around pieces of his ship. His golden eyes filled with sadness as he realized Earth was already stepping into the conflict he had tried so hard to keep it out of. When Laura visited him later, she found him staring blankly at the ceiling. "They're making a mistake," he said weakly. "The Vorath don't care about diplomacy or alliances. Once they know you exist, they'll come for you." Laura sat down beside him. "We're trying to help, Kale. But some people think we can't just sit back and wait." Kale sighed deeply. "Waiting is better than rushing into a war you aren't ready for. The Vorath. They hunt civilizations like predators hunting prey. They'll destroy everything you hold dear." His words sent a chill through Laura. She wanted to believe humanity could handle whatever came its way. But doubt gnawed at her. Deep down, she knew Kel was right. Earth wasn't prepared for something like this. Meanwhile, Samantha Hayes grew increasingly uneasy about the secrecy surrounding the project. She had been translating more of Cal's messages and discovered chilling details about the Vorath's tactics. Entire planets had been wiped out not because they fought back, but simply because they existed. The thought horrified her, and she began questioning whether keeping quiet was the right thing to do. One evening, unable to bear the weight of her guilt any longer, Samantha made a bold move. She copied key files from the research database and leaked them online. Within hours, news outlets picked up the story, revealing the existence of Kale and the looming threat of the Vorath Legion. Panic spread across the globe as people learned that Earth might soon face an attack from an unstoppable alien force. General Cole was furious when he found out. "This changes everything," he growled, slamming his fist on the table. "Now the whole world knows. There's no turning back." Ryan and Laura exchanged worried glances. They had hoped to avoid involving Earth altogether, but now there was no hiding. The question wasn't whether Earth would be part of the Galactic War anymore. It was how long they had before the Vorath arrived. The leaked information sent shockwaves through the world. Governments scrambled to respond, while ordinary people panicked. Stores were emptied of supplies, and conspiracy theories spread like wildfire on social media. Amid the chaos, Kel's warnings about the Vorath Legion felt more urgent than ever. But no one could have predicted how quickly things would escalate. Just days after the leak, NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Systems detected unusual activity near Jupiter. A small fleet of unidentified ships had entered the solar system, moving at incredible speeds. The ships weren't large, but their sleek, menacing design hinted at their purpose: reconnaissance. It didn't take long for scientists to confirm that these were Vorath scouts. "They're here," Ryan said grimly as he studied the data in the command center. "They must have been watching us for a while. The leak probably gave them all the proof they needed." Laura stood beside him, her face pale. "What do we do now?" Before anyone could answer, alarms blared across the facility. One of the Vorath drones had broken away from the group and was heading straight for Earth. Military forces scrambled jets to intercept it, but the drone moved faster than anything humanity had ever encountered. Within minutes, it breached Earth's atmosphere and targeted a top-secret military base where engineers had been studying Cal's ship. The attack was swift and devastating. The drone unleashed a beam of energy that sliced through buildings like paper. Soldiers fired missiles at it, but the weapons bounced off its impenetrable hull. The drone retaliated by releasing smaller probes that infiltrated the base, scanning computers and stealing data. By the time reinforcements arrived, the damage was done. Dozens of lives were lost, and critical research on Cal's technology had fallen into enemy hands. Ryan and Laura rushed to the scene, their hearts sinking as they surveyed the destruction. Smoke filled the air, and the smell of burning metal stung their noses. Among the wreckage, they found one of the smaller probes disabled but intact. It was a rare stroke of luck in an otherwise catastrophic situation. "This is our chance," Laura said, examining the probe carefully. "If we can figure out how it works, maybe we can learn something about the Vorath." Kale, who had been brought to the site under heavy guard, looked at the probe with wide eyes. "You don't understand," he said weakly. "This is just the beginning. They know you exist now. More will come." His words hung heavily in the air, but there was no time to dwell on them. Scientists worked around the clock to analyze the probe, discovering that its technology was far beyond anything Earth had achieved. It used quantum computing to process information instantly and adapted to its surroundings with frightening efficiency. Every test revealed new layers of complexity, leaving the researchers both awestruck and terrified. General Cole wasted no time using the findings to accelerate Earth's preparations for war. New weapons were designed based on the probe's systems, and training programs were launched to prepare soldiers for combat against the unknown. Despite Cal's repeated warnings, humanity was now fully committed to defending itself, or so it seemed. As the days passed, Cal grew weaker. His injuries worsened, and his pleas became more desperate. "Take me back to my people," he begged Ryan one night. "If I can warn the Galactic Alliance, maybe they can help protect Earth. But if you keep me here, you're sealing your fate." Ryan hesitated. He knew General Cole would never allow Cal to leave, not when he was seen as Earth's only link to the Galactic Alliance. Yet deep down, Ryan couldn't ignore the truth in Cal's words. Keeping him hostage wasn't just cruel, it was dangerous. That night, Ryan made a decision. He met with Laura and Samantha in private. "We need to get him out of here," he said firmly. "If we don't, we might lose our last chance to save Earth." Laura nodded, though fear flickered in her eyes. "How do we pull this off without getting caught?" "It won't be easy," Ryan admitted. "But we don't have a choice." With Cal's life, and perhaps Earth's future, on the line, the three of them began planning their escape. The escape plan was risky, but Ryan, Laura, and Samantha knew they had no other choice. Cal's condition was worsening, and every moment he stayed on Earth brought the Vorath closer to discovering his location. They decided to act quickly, enlisting the help of Jake Monroe, a rogue pilot with a reputation for taking on dangerous missions. Jake had once flown experimental aircraft for the military, but left after disagreeing with their methods. He owed Ryan a favor, and when Ryan explained the stakes, Jake didn't hesitate to join them. "All right, here's the deal," Jake said as they gathered in a hidden hangar late at night. "We've got one shot at this. If we get caught, it's over, for all of us." Ryan nodded. "We'll take the prototype spacecraft. It's fast enough to outrun anything they throw at us." The team worked quietly, preparing the ship while keeping an eye out for patrols. Cal, weak but determined, was smuggled aboard under a blanket. His breathing was shallow, but his golden eyes showed a flicker of hope. As they sealed the hatch and powered up the engines, Laura checked the navigation system one last time. "We're heading for the nearest galactic outpost," she said. "If we can get there, Cal can warn his people." Jake grinned as he gripped the controls. "Hold on tight, folks. This is going to be a bumpy ride." As the ship lifted off, alarms blared in the distance. Someone had discovered their absence, and within minutes, military jets were scrambling to intercept them. General Cole's voice crackled over the radio, demanding they return immediately. "This is Commander Ryan Carter," Ryan replied calmly. "We're doing what's best for Earth. You'll understand someday." The jets closed in, firing warning shots that streaked past the ship. Jake maneuvered expertly, dodging each attack with precision. The prototype's advanced thrusters roared to life, propelling them higher and faster than any human-made vessel before. For a moment, it seemed like they might make it, but then came the drones. Two Vorath scouts appeared out of nowhere, their sleek forms cutting through the sky like knives. They locked onto the fleeing ship, unleashing beams of energy that lit up the darkness. Jake cursed under his breath as he pushed the engines to their limit, weaving between the blasts. "We can't keep this up forever," Samantha shouted, clutching her seat. "We don't have to," Ryan said, pointing ahead. "There's the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Once we're in space, they won't follow." But the drones weren't giving up. One of them fired a concentrated beam that clipped the ship's wing, sending sparks flying. Alarms screamed inside the cockpit as systems began to fail. Laura worked frantically to stabilize the damage, her hands moving over the controls with practiced speed. Almost there, Jake yelled, his knuckles white on the stick. With one final burst of speed, the ship broke free of Earth's gravity and soared into the vastness of space. The drones hesitated at the boundary, their programming apparently unwilling to pursue beyond Earth's orbit. For a moment, the crew sat in silence, catching their breath. Behind them, Earth glowed softly against the blackness of space, a fragile blue marble hanging in the void. "We did it," Laura whispered, relief washing over her. But Kale shook his head weakly. "Not yet. The Vorath know about Earth now. They won't stop until they've taken everything." Ryan clenched his jaw. "Then we'll make sure your people are ready for them." As they set a course for the galactic outpost, tensions ran high. None of them knew what awaited them in the stars, but one thing was certain. Earth's fate now rested in their hands, and the fragile alliance they hoped to forge with the Galactic Alliance. The journey to the galactic outpost was long and tense. The prototype spacecraft hummed softly as it raced through the vast emptiness of space, its engines glowing faintly against the endless black. Inside, the team worked together to keep Cal stable while monitoring for any signs of danger. Jake Monroe stayed glued to the controls, his sharp eyes scanning the starry horizon for threats. Laura tended to Cale, adjusting the makeshift medical equipment they had brought along. Ryan and Samantha kept watch over the ship's systems, ensuring everything ran smoothly. As they approached their destination, the outpost came into view, a sprawling structure floating in the void, surrounded by smaller ships and glowing with artificial light. It looked like a fortress, bristling with weapons and sensors. Samantha leaned forward, her face lighting up with awe. "This is it," she said quietly. "Their base." Cale stirred weakly, his golden eyes opening just enough to see the outpost. "We're here," he rasped. "But we must hurry. My people need to know what's coming." Jake guided the ship toward the docking bay. But as they neared, alarms blared from the outpost. Defensive turrets swiveled to face them, locking onto the unfamiliar craft. A voice crackled over the comms, speaking in a language none of them understood. "Tell them who you are," Ryan urged Cale. Cale activated his wrist device, sending a signal that identified him as a member of the United Galactic Alliance. After a tense moment, the turrets retracted, and the docking bay opened. Jake eased the ship inside, landing gently on the metallic floor. When the hatch opened, armed guards greeted them, their weapons trained on the group. Cale stepped forward shakily, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. He spoke in his native tongue, explaining who he was and why he had come. The guards lowered their weapons but remained cautious as they escorted the team deeper into the outpost. What they saw next shocked them all. The outpost was bustling with activity, but not the kind they expected. Refugees from other planets filled the halls, families clutching whatever belongings they could carry, their faces etched with fear and exhaustion. Some were injured, others grieving. The air buzzed with whispers of defeat and despair. Laura felt a lump rise in her throat. This is what happens when the Vorath attack." Cale nodded grimly. "They leave nothing behind. These are the lucky ones, the ones who manage to escape." Ryan clenched his fists, anger boiling inside him. How can anyone fight something like that? Cale led them to a large chamber where leaders of the Galactic Alliance were gathered. Holographic maps floated above a central table, showing the paths of Vorath fleets cutting through star systems like knives. The mood was somber, the leaders exchanging grim looks as they discussed strategies that seemed doomed to fail. When Cale entered, gasps rippled through the room. Many thought he was dead. He explained Earth's situation, emphasizing the Vorath's growing interest in humanity. The leaders listened carefully, their expressions darkening with each word. One of them, an older alien named Vela, finally spoke. "Earth has been marked. Once the Vorath set their sights on a planet, There is no turning back. Ryan stepped forward, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Then help us prepare. Teach us how to defend ourselves. Vela hesitated, then nodded slowly. We will offer limited aid, but only if your people prove they are willing to fight, not just for themselves, but for the survival of all. It wasn't the answer Ryan had hoped for, but it was better than nothing. As the meeting ended, Kale turned to the team, his expression heavy with gratitude. You've given Earth a chance, he said softly. But the battle ahead will be hard. Harder than anything you've faced before. Ryan met his gaze, determination burning in his eyes. We'll do whatever it takes. With their mission complete, the team prepared to return to Earth, carrying both hope and dread. They had forged an uneasy alliance, but whether it would be enough to save humanity remained uncertain. The journey back to Earth was quiet, the weight of what they had learned pressing heavily on everyone. Ryan sat in the cockpit with Jake, staring out at the endless stars. Laura and Samantha stayed with Kale, making sure he remained stable. None of them spoke much. There wasn't much to say. They had seen the devastation the Vorith could cause, and now they understood just how fragile humanity's position was. When they finally reached Earth's orbit, the planet below looked peaceful, its blue oceans and green continents glowing under the sunlight. But Ryan knew better. Beneath that calm surface, chaos was brewing. Governments were scrambling to prepare for war, people were panicking, and military forces were building weapons based on alien technology they barely understood. Earth was no longer the quiet, isolated world it had been just weeks ago. As they landed, General Cole was waiting for them. His face was stern, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. Soldiers surrounded the ship, their weapons ready. Ryan stepped out first, holding up his hands to show they meant no harm. We did what we had to do, Ryan said firmly before Cole could speak. Kale is alive, and we've made contact with the Galactic Alliance. Cole's eyes narrowed. You disobeyed direct orders. Do you have any idea what kind of trouble you've caused? Ryan didn't back down. We saved Earth's best chance at survival. If you want to punish us, fine, but hear me out first. Reluctantly, Cole listened as Ryan explained everything. The refugees, the maps of Vorith fleets, and the limited aid the Galactic Alliance had promised. He also warned about the Vorith's ruthlessness, emphasizing that humanity needed to be ready, not just with weapons but with unity and strategy. For a moment, Cole said nothing. Then he sighed deeply. All right, we'll take what help we can get, but this changes nothing. Earth has to fight. Over the following days, preparations intensified. Factories worked around the clock to build new ships and weapons based on designs shared by the Galactic Alliance. Scientists studied every piece of data Cal had provided, trying to understand the Vorith's weaknesses. Military leaders trained soldiers, teaching them tactics used in galactic warfare. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. Kale, now recovering slowly, became an advisor. He spent hours explaining the Vorith strategies and sharing stories of battles fought by the Galactic Alliance. His presence gave people hope, even if it was fragile. Laura and Samantha continued their work, analyzing alien tech and helping adapt it for human use. They often found themselves overwhelmed by the complexity of it all, but they pushed through, knowing failure wasn't an option. Jake, meanwhile, offered his skills as a pilot, training others to fly the new ships. If we're going to war, he said with a grin, we might as well do it right. As the days turned into weeks, humanity began to change. Fear still lingered, but so did determination. People came together in ways they never had before, setting aside differences to focus on survival. Earth wasn't united, it wasn't perfect, but it was trying. One evening, Ryan stood outside, looking up at the stars. The sky was clear, and the constellations seemed brighter than ever. He thought about everything that had happened. The first contact, the escape, the outpost, and the looming threat of the Vorith. Humanity had stepped onto a stage far bigger than itself, and there was no turning back. Do you think we can win? Laura asked, joining him. Ryan hesitated, then nodded. I don't know, but I do know one thing. We won't give up without a fight. Above them, the stars twinkled silently, watching as Earth prepared to face its greatest challenge yet. Whatever happened next, humanity would rise, or fall, together.